All right, well, let's get into it, guys. Today we got Mr. Sam back, and his 2 daughters are from Asheville and Texas. They came in to visit for Thanksgiving, and man, you talk about your daughters all the time when I'm with you, so it's really cool to finally get to meet them. It shows how much you really care about them and the family and everything like that, and it almost seems like they're hundreds of miles away, but it almost seems like to you they've never really... They never really grown up and left the nest. You want to keep them like as your daughters still? Is that a real? Mm-hmm. That's the vibe I get from him.
Yeah.
Because you know when you have a good relationship with your family, especially with your children, it's they do leave the nest, as you say. Yes, they do. But you're thinking, I can't be the governing parent, but I'm still a parent to them. And you always have the feeling, like, gosh, if they was here just for a while. Well, it being a historical time, in that this is the first time that both of them and their families and all of us have been under one roof for Thanksgiving. And so far, we haven't had a gunfight or a knife fight, either one. So it's going along pretty good.
Which is pretty huge
we still got
That's a big win.
We've still got a day or so left. But as of yet, we haven't unsheathed anything to get the weapons out. No, it's went real good, which has been such a unbelievably good thing for me. And, as I say, parting is always such sweet sorrow, but we have decided we're going to do it again, too. And we don't know next year which location it'll be at, but we're going to do it again next year.
So has he always had such like a gentle touch to parenting, or was he more of was he stern in his younger years?
Oh, no. Dad was never stern.
No?
We never got a spanking. We never got anything. Like,
even raising his voice, though, seems...
Oh, no. He never... he raised his voice one time when I ran over some golf clubs. That was it.
What? It brings...
Do you even golf?
Well...
He used to.
I had a Buick Grand National, and Tiffany was wanting to learn how to drive it. So where I lived, it's just a 1-mile circle around there. And she said, "Can I drive around?" I said, "Sure." So she'd practiced on that a lot. We had been golfing and came back, and it was actually my fault. So I just took the golf clubs out of the back of the car and set them near the back, and
which was not
carried
smart.
some other stuff in. Well, she said, "Stephanie and I are going driving." Poof, and they were gone. In a few minutes, they come back in, but they came in the house, and they just went to their rooms. Phew, and shut the doors. And I thought, that's odd. So I went over to Stephanie. I said, "Steph," she said, "Go ask Tiffany." So I go over to Tiffany's room, knock on the door. "Tiffany, go ask Stephanie." And I said, "Wait a minute. Come out here. Come out here. We're in a little conference here. What's the deal?" Well, they came through the door like, "Dad, and I said, "Well, what is it?" "Well, look at the car, the stupid car." And all of a sudden, the car is stupid,
The Buick Grand National?
Yeah, the Buick. So I go out and look, and the Buick is up in the back. And I thought, that's really odd. So I go out there, and it's up on the golf clubs. I said, "Oh, this ain't good."
Yeah, he did raise his voice then.
Left it on the golf clubs, too?
Yeah, and then she just jumped out of
Because you had just got those golf clubs,
yeah,
right?
it was a brand new set. They were, at the time, pretty high-dollar stuff, And now the car set up on top of them. I was, okay, that's not good.
But he never yelled, screamed, like... He gave us anything we wanted. Probably not good parenting.
and now then they've taken it. They have taken it the other way. They're pretty disciplined. Yeah. Oh my.
We're pretty strict.
And I look and I think, okay, well maybe that's what I missed out on. But they turned out excellent. They really did.
How many kids do you guys have each?
We have 5 total. One of them's in college, and then they range all the way down to elementary school. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, from 16. They have a 16-year-old.
Yes, we do have a 16-year-old.
And he has his learner's permit, so...
You think toddler phase is serious. Teenager phase is no joke.
What'd you let him drive while he was here?
Oh,
well,
no.
The Lightning, at least?
We're getting ready to experience that later today. The husband is going to drive, some of the cars, and the daughters, if they want to, any of them say that they want to drive, so...
She doesn't drive. She's...
Not into the driving.
Now Tiffany take one of them and she'll take it on a rip, Steph, well, okay, if it'll do 55, let's do 50.
I mean, I'll go with Tiffany.
Okay, good. Well, they're there
I'll
for
let
you.
her rip it.
Okay, they're there
I'm not going to let Dad rip it, but
Well, you go in that IS, and it might be a scary.
Oh,
moment.
it's. Oh,
I don't know if what's in the garage at the moment, I guess, but
Well, now we got in the garage. You got the two in there. They're camping out with each other. We got the Super on one side and the SC on the other. You know,
both
like,
ready to go.
Like, okay, both of us ready to go here. And the SC looks over and says, "Oh, but you're stock. You can't do much." And this the other one says, "Yeah, but I'm worth more than you." So you know how all that goes.
But what do you let the 16-year-old drive then?
That's up to his mother.
The truck?
Well, that's going to be up to his mother. And his dad would probably say, "Yeah, take the truck." And his mother would say, "I don't know about that."
Do you have anything slow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The diesel. Yeah, the 7.3 diesel.
He can do slow.
Okay. And he can drive the black truck. Yeah. It's completely stock. So we might.
He
that's
taught
your
us
truck.
how to drive. He taught us how to. And the only thing he said was push the gas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
And we would drive at night
Yes.
down 64.
Yes.
And you know, one time we had.
It's a dark road.
Like 13, like 13 years old.
Yes. I was 12.
And she drove the Grand National Learning, and I drove the Impala.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we had one of the Chevrolet Impalas, you know, the big one. And she looked so small in that thing, like a big old car, and there's Steph in there. Okay, go ahead. There was a funny one time. We had Tiffany's learning how to drive. We were in Asheville. And she said that we pulled up, and there was a left turn. It had two green straight through, and then had a left turn into a grocery store. And looked up, and it was red. And I said, "Well, go ahead. There's nothing coming." She said, "But, Dad, it's got the red up there." And I said, "No big deal. Go ahead." So we turned in. And who's sitting behind us? North Carolina Highway Patrol. Flipped on the lights, and she said, "But he told me to go ahead." And he said, "So you probably shouldn't be training her like that." But he didn't give us a ticket, so it was unusual to be let go by them guys, you know. So, yeah, I thought, "Yeah, go ahead. Ain't no big deal."
We were talking about teaching Bronte stick shift, and I need somebody else to do it because even though I can teach her, it's not the right fit for me to teach my wife something like that.
Yes.
Oh, my.
I almost need a third party.
That would probably be one of the things like, "Well, why aren't you guys not together for today?" "Well, we've been learning about straight driving, and it didn't work out real good." Yeah.
Yeah,
Dad
she-
had to teach me because
Yeah.
our mom was
she
not.
about murdered us.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad.
So Dad had to teach both of us a straight
But
drive.
it was a good learning experience.
Yeah.
We killed a few batteries and a few
But
starters and stuff.
you still never yelled then either.
No,
like,
no
you were
need
so
to.
calm and
No need to. We
patient.
just,
and
That's.
he's so positive. He was always so positive, so nice, so kind, sweet.
Well, to think about it, that's the way we should be. Because, you know, in this world we got here, there's enough of the bad stuff out there. And you can go find it if you like, so we don't want none of that. So,
Yep.
But, you know, it's a privilege to get to be here today in this studio. Not because he's sitting here. This is quite a privilege because out of all of the people that I deal with, this is by far the best studio on the thing. Most of them, we got them in the outdoor and they're like, "Okay, y'all be quiet over a minute." Okay, here we go.
No,
So,
definitely.
but he's got it really fixed up nice, which I'm most appreciative of.
I feel lucky to get to document you for these people and forever because, you know, once you put these things out, they're forever. And that's, you know, we spent a long time talking about Christianity and things like that and me learning your temperament of being a parent. And I only have an 11-month-old, so I haven't even experienced real parenthood yet.
The good stuff's coming. Oh, my.
Yeah, so it's great to spend some time with somebody that you want to try to implement some parenting styles. And I'm sure you guys have tried to, whether successful or not, to implement some of those because
The patient part, definitely. Being more patient.
it's not easy to be patient. And
Yes.
I don't know where it comes from with him. Maybe farming because you got to be patient.
Because I don't think your parents, I don't think Granny and Papa were patient. I know
No, they
Papa
had their
wasn't.
moments.
He was
Oh,
mean.
my dad was, he was the other side of things. Now, he could fly into a cursing streak in a heartbeat and like, "Oh, shoot, where'd that come from?"
Yeah.
And
he was-
then he'd just sit down, he'd light up a cigarette and say, "Okay." And then in their later years, both of them quit the cigarettes. Just, that stuff will kill you. Okay. But they had their moments, you know. Of course, they grew up, they went through the
And
depression.
your mom was not patient either. She
I mean, they went
was-
through the depression. You know?
Yeah, that's
I mean, that woman could be holding one child's hand, trying to correct it, whipping another one with a dish rag on the thing, and then telling the other two. It was just, I mean, think about it. There's 5 children in one house, and we're all going different directions. Oh,
And then
my.
we came along, and everybody had 2 and 3 kids, and there was so many of us
Yes.
there.
And we would have a convention at the house, you know, like for a Thanksgiving or go out and wreck the poor parents' house and then leave. So, okay, we got to go. Isn't that how you do, parents? You go wreck the house and say, "We got to go now."
That's the key of
See,
having
that's what's coming.
grandparents.
That's what's coming for you. Is yours will be coming to be like, "Let's go over to Dad's. Why don't we stay here and have them come here?" Oh, no. Which simply means, no, let's go over and wreck that place and then come back to calmness. And then plus the fact we can leave whenever we want to, because a lot of people are like, when they get ready to go, they're like, they don't know exactly what to, well, should we go? And then some stay too long, because company sometimes looks good two ways, coming and going. It's like, I have a brother, well, he's passed away now, but he used to say, and he meant it, he would get up when we'd have a big gathering at their house. When he'd had enough, he'd get up and he'd say, Red, to my sister, let's go to bed so these nice people can go home. And he'd just go to bed. He'd just go back in his room and go to bed. And in a few minutes, he'd say, well, I'm going too. And then we were like, okay, I guess we ought to leave these people's house, and they would all leave. But it was just the way he was,
It's a good way to get them to clear out. At my grandparents' house, it was like 2 a.m. and there'd still be
activity.
Yeah.
Because my grandpa was the oldest of his 8 siblings, so they would always be like latched onto him of like, oh, anything he's doing, we'll just hang out here. And they'd be there until 3 a.m.
We're just going to hang out right here.
Yeah, and it was the Italian thing of like, at midnight, then you start cooking like a 7-fish meal.
Wow.
It was like always another fish. It was, I don't know where it came from, but at midnight nobody wanted to eat fish anymore. But
you think about it, the Italians, that's what they're famous for. That's what I really admire about them is when they have a family gathering, it's like, oh, you cook, you eat, you cook, you eat again, you cook, you eat again. Okay, you can't be full, you got to cook again.
That was the way it was. It was midnight and 2 a.m. was when like ham started to come out. Everyone was asleep by then. But there was like 14 grandkids, so you guys
wake them up,
probably
they got to eat.
Somebody was up, yeah.
Wake them up, they got to eat. It's a job. Somebody had to do it. So, we've shared the cooking thing while we've been here. We've shared the cooking thing because when you have a large gathering, all the activities in the kitchen. So as you mentioned, it's got to be if it's not a big kitchen, it's going to be crowded in here, and then it's when the patience really comes in. Then because if you got everybody in the kitchen, it's like, don't drag them knives out in here. You're going to hurt somebody. But everybody wants to be in the kitchen.
I did pull a knife on you.
That's normal sibling stuff.
This is normal. That's just normal stuff.
Yeah, that's normal sibling stuff. I got 3 siblings, so I understand. Yeah. 2 of them are girls, so I get it.
Oh, yeah.
One's blonde, one's brunette, too.
Okay, I got you. It's like,
but, yeah. So, how did you end up in Asheville? Because you were raised here, right?
No.
Okay.
Well, partial raised
You said you
here.
were learning how to drive
I've
on
always
64.
been here like summer.
Okay, interesting.
We would come summertime, and so.
And then I grew up in Asheville, and then moved away from there way back in the dark ages, and came to Florida because I always wanted. I'm not much on winter, so Steph says,
But you moved to Florida, when we were, it was in the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they said, okay, we're going to be, we're going to Florida. Well, here we are in Florida, and we have, Tiffany's lived here with me a while, Steph lived here with me a bunch, and now then it's a visiting place to go to, but they don't like the weather. Too humid, too hot, too whatever.
Too many ants.
And that's too many people. So, but Tiffany, of course, is in Dallas, in that Dallas area, and she says she'll die with her boots on. Steph is in nursing and has been for 20-some years, and she likes that career, and she's probably going to stay in that grouping there. Now, with that said, I'd really like to have them here, but I can't even get them to talk about it. Look at them. No,
That's never going to happen.
This is good weather. I could do this, but summertime, it's a little different.
You get like 2 months of this.
Yeah.
Even today is a little muggy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Dallas Fort Worth is.
It's hot too.
And it's also.
It's hot.
That city is unbelievable. It's like 2 giant cities on top of each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
I've
huge.
avoided DFW since the first time I've been there.
Yes. And thankfully we live like a little bit further south, but yeah, Dallas is, it's no joke.
Yeah, I've never been to a place where highways stack like 6 stories on top of each other. It's quite a sight.
Oh my.
It is.
But then So you stayed in Asheville after he left. Okay, that makes sense now. I was trying to piece all that together, how you ended up where he grew up, but you also spent time in Florida.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So you stayed there with your mother then? Okay.
And then throughout their lives, contrary to what their mom wanted, no bad vibe there, I dragged them to every racetrack in the world. Oh my, because racing's always been a part of it. And Kyle from 1320 asked me about it. He said, what's some of the most unusual drag strips you've been to? And the ones that has the most whatever on it, the uniqueness. I said, well, it's Greer Dragway. And he said, where in the world is that? And he's not been to Greer yet. And it is, you go through a huge neighborhood to get to the drag strip. Well, that's where we spend about every Saturday night, was at Greer Dragway. Or
Every Saturday night.
or at English Mountain, or at Bristol, because they were all kind of in that triangle area,
That was high class to go to Bristol.
Oh, when you want to get the high class stuff, we're going to Bristol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And that
We
was
were
where
in Greer.
all of the big name stars came there. And every once in a while we'd go to Shady Side, and that was like,
the name.
yeah, Shady Side was always Shady Side. It's got the true name. And there's a lot of small ones around there that some people, well, they're not even in business anymore, some of them. And some of them were like, these guys now do this no prep stuff, and you see them in some country road. Yeah, that was us. We had that way back then.
Yeah.
People just like, oh, that's outlaw stuff.
But that's what we were talking about the other day, is that the Greer, we grew. That's what all we did, and we were barefoot out there, right next to the drag strip. No earplugs. It was nothing like how it is.
Our
now.
kids now are out there like,
yeah, they're like,
Kennedy's
"Oh."
like, Grandpa, do you have those earplugs that you put in my ear?
So were you guys out there racing, or were you out there?
No, we were racing.
Dad was
me
racing,
and a
yeah.
friend of mine we've had several drag cars along the way, and then the most recent one it was a mid-years Corvette with a old big block. Well, we didn't have the new stuff on it, but then in later years we had some big Chief heads on it because that was the high dollar ones.
But did you actually drive the car, or was that Dave that drove the car?
Yeah, well, David and I both, but David mostly on the thing, and I was the tow driver. And every once in a while he'd say, you got to drive this thing. So, okay, fine. But we had, mostly was the tow driver, and he'd be sleeping, Okay, I've done my job. Boom, he's asleep. Well, I got to drive us back. But some of our tow vehicles were
Questionable.
dang, we're going to hook a trailer to this thing, whew, okay. But it was...
But it was funny because when we were at the track the other day, the smell when they were, what they do at the
do you
starting
burn
line?
out, don't they?
Yeah. It was like we were both like, oh my word.
There's that
It's like
smell.
my childhood.
The smell. You do not
the
forget
typical
it.
racetrack smell. We went out, we
Yeah.
were testing out there the other day, and they went out, and it's the typical racetrack scene, all the people, all the stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, you don't forget that smell.
Were you guys helping at this, or was it just kind of like showing up and like, all right, Dad, I guess we'll sit here in the stands?
And I don't even
Oh,
think
yeah,
we
no.
saw Dad. Like
No,
the whole
we
time.
were- yeah.
We were just running around.
Usually with the wives of the racers.
Yeah.
Yeah. They took us.
Eating. We constantly ate, so we were eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're good at that at drag strips. You go to a World Cup, and that's all they're doing.
Yeah.
It's
We
an
were
eating
eating-
festival. I mean,
eating.
that's what people talk about. Oh, you're going to have track food? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's the best. I mean, it's a little fattening, but it's pretty good, yeah.
Little.
Especially in like the center of the country there.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
And there were so many drag strips around there but one thing they did do, concessions have always been a big part of drag racing on it. So they got anything to eat there? Oh, yeah, it's right over there. And you go in sometimes it's just a cooler, but they've already fixed sandwiches and they're still in there. Like, okay, well, I guess we buy those. But nobody ever died off from it, so we were okay.
You don't think so?
Not in our
Not
group.
in our group. Now, the
no
other
one that you knew.
don't investigate it too far. Well, there could have been some, but we don't know.
Yeah.
But
It was a good childhood memory. I mean, it was
Yeah.
fun. Like,
Yeah.
you think about it now, it was fun. Like,
Oh, yeah.
And it was fun then. I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't know any better.
yeah.
we'd leave Greer, and it
was
was always
more
like,
life.
we're going to stop at the pizza place. I mean, that's kind of the thing. There was one called Pizza Inn, and they did have some unusually good pizza, wasn't it? So everybody went from the racetrack over to Pizza Inn. It was like late at night,
Like
and
1 a.m.
it'd be still open for us. It's like, man, here comes that onslaught of people. Like, okay, get ready, they're coming in.
And then even when you moved down here, when we would come visit,
Yeah.
like, that's all we did. We went to the drag strip here. Like,
It was
we grew
close
up
enough
going-
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dad was like, I bought this house and it's like right behind the drag. I'm like, oh.
And then we had Of course, I had a drag bike for a lot of those years, and they're like,
A bike?
oh yeah, a drag bike, a 900 cal.
Let 'em
and,
do that.
And the girls were always telling me, Dad, could you get killed on that thing? Probably, but maybe not now.
No, you would say, no, it's always
It's all
it'll
right.
be fine.
And,
Yeah.
and I'd load the girls up on it, and off we'd go.
Yeah, you bet Mom about murdered you on that one.
Oh, my. I asked her mother one time, I said, we're going to go out to the grandparents. And she said, all of us? And I said, well, yeah. And she said, on what? And I said, on the motorcycle. And then I had a Triumph Bonneville. And she said, on that motorcycle? And I said, well, yeah. I said, just wrap Tiffany up in a blanket and off we go. So she did. We jumped on the motorcycle. Here we go. She got this baby wrapped up in a blanket, and here we go on the motorcycle out to the grandparents. And the grandparents are like, how'd y'all get here? Well, we drove the motorcycle. My dad says, was that there baby on there? And I said, well, yeah.
I can see Grandpa saying
He says, was that there baby on there? I said, yeah, I'm sure did. Then we go back, and I said, well, why were they so questioning about that? And she said, I guess they thought it a little unusual. I said, well, I guess they did. You know?
Slightly. I mean,
Just
a baby
little
on a
bit.
motorcycle, yeah, I don't
you don't see that much.
No, that's terrifying.
He's like, okay, here we go. She
At least
said,
in Florida, maybe in like the back
oh,
roads of.
She said,
Asheville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we,
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
different there anyway.
yeah, your mom says, okay, we're ready. And she's got the baby wrapped up and got a diaper bag run up to her arm and hung on here. And I said, okay, we're going.
Wow, she was a good woman.
Off we go. It was, so one time I took, this is a funny one. I had a 65 Chevrolet truck. I wanted it so bad. And I had swapped it out and put a big block in it with a 4-speed. It's a pretty nice truck. And Tiffany was with me, and she said, what are we going to do today? And I said, well, we're going to cut some locust wood for Granny, because that's what she burned in the wood stove. It's a very hard wood, and boy, does it make the heat. So she says, can I go with you? And I said, sure. So I just drove the truck over on this little hill we had there. And I had the chainsaw, and I said, I'll leave you in the truck. Just stay right here. Okay. You can watch me. I'll be right out there. So I'm cutting this tree, and I thought, so I notched it on the upper side and going to follow it that way away from the truck. About the time I get the thing notched and ready to cut it down, a big puff of wind come along, and I thought, oh, this ain't good. Boom, there set the truck. It hit it right behind the cab. Boom, and there it sat, just like a V. And I said, oh, my. And Tiffany liked it. She said, wow, could we do that again? I said, no. Boom. I said, oh, my. That was back in the days.
Yeah,
So-
because I did like the car stuff back then. I mean, I did.
Oh, yeah, she
Probably
was
more than
she was
you.
into that, yeah. She was
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She was into that. We had a good time with it.
A lot of kids tend to latch onto the parents' hobby pretty aggressively, and you kind of want that from the kid a little bit. You know, you need them to be involved enough. I always worry with CJ because I push because that's what he's going to grow up around.
Yep.
But it's going to force him the opposite way, and it's like, how do you manage that? I guess kids just do what they
Yeah.
want to do anyways.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
you sometimes you think when they're doing these things, you think, is that safe? Is that the way we should be doing it? And then you think back on your own career and you think, whoops, done the same thing. Yeah, I guess it is okay. Just try not to get your head cut off or something. So but it's the career that we're in, this cars and drag racing and all like that. It's a good, clean sport. I mean, yeah, you got some ups and downs in it, you sure do. But it's to me, it's America. Some of the last vestiges of reality, we'll call it. But I thoroughly enjoy it. I guess I do. I'm 100 years old. I'm still in it. So, but the group that I'm in, this group here, is such a privilege to be in. The team that I'm with, and it's quite the deal. Quite the deal. And then you get to come to Cooper's studio. And here we are with my girls. I can't believe it.
So, what was it like when you guys saw him become Mr. Sam,
Oh, wow.
famous guy all of a sudden? Because, it was kind of a light switch. All of a sudden, he was, he's always been like this, but now everybody got to experience it.
Yeah. I mean, it was, wow.
It's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's we go somewhere and somebody's always
Yeah, even he comes out to Texas and people are like, you're Mr. Sam. And like, can we get your autograph? And it takes us forever in a store because like people are like, you're Mr. Sam. Like, what's it like having him as your dad? He's just my dad. Like, it's like, he's always been like that. And he's the same with us that he is with everybody else. Like, I don't see no different.
No, you can't be. You have to, because your audience will find you out if not. If you're putting on this big facade, after a while, the curtain has to come down. It's like, whoa, look at that.
It was a little bit of a shocker, though. I was like, I mean, I just had randomly had people come up to me. I know your dad. Like, that's your dad. Like, yeah. Did he just like get into racing? I'm like, no. He's been into racing forever.
Well, that's the funny thing too. Is like, you know, everybody knows you as the detail guy, but the fact that you're also a diehard drag racer your whole life.
Yeah.
Kind of the
that was like
overlap
huge
was
when we were children. Like, Dad was type A. That was one thing he was type A about his cars being clean.
Yes.
And do not step in the oil, and do not slam the door, and do not touch the car, and
always had towels in the floorboard. I don't think he's ever owned a car that he has not put towels down in the floorboard.
Yes, there's still towels out there now. Yeah.
In every vehicle.
And that truck is what, 300,000 miles on it?
Actually, it's 750.
Yes.
750,000 miles on
And
it.
it's still got the original carpet in it. And,
With the towels.
with the towels, yeah.
He's always been like very clean about that. Like that's always.
But we've
been,
had, through the years that we've had, like I was telling you, a lot of people don't even know it. I had a drag bike for, I guess 5 years, and after a while you realize, this thing is faster than I am. I could be killed on this thing. Like, whoa. Because when you first start doing it, it's like, yeah, whatever, I got it. And then as you have your children, things start to progress, and you think, yeah, because if you notice in racing, the ones that take the most risk usually are single or don't know that they could be killed at it, And they're like, then as you get older, it's like, I don't know.
I mean, that's the way my husband was too. I think that was the bond that they had whenever we got married over 20 years ago, was that he was like, your dad. Like, he was famous in my husband's eyes back then because of how.
Well, we had a lot of,
cars is like huge deal, so.
Because the circle it was in then, that was the in circle to be in with the cars, And then a lot of where I grew up there, a lot of the big time engine builders, before they all moved down to the Mooresville area, a lot of big engine builders and big name stuff and racers were in the greater Asheville area. And then Mooresville kind of got with the NASCAR thing and everybody went to there. But still, a lot of it's still a bunch of it there. They used to have
because you knew like Dale Earnhardt when he was
my goodness. A lot of them people, when they weren't famous, they used to come to a speedway we had there called Asheville-Weaverville Speedway. It was a nice paved track. It was first dirt, red dirt. And I'd come home, my mom would say, you was at that racetrack, wasn't you? Yes, ma'am. How'd you know? Well, look at you. You're all red. And it was just that red dirt. And stuff still on it. Like, okay, I guess so. And then they paved it, and you could get by with it then. But that was where some of the famous racers, the Lee Pettys of the world, the Richard Pettys, the Cale Yarboroughs, the Leroy Yarboroughs, all them people came to there. All of the Earnhardts came to there, but they were just racers, people. They were just scrappy racers, because then they weren't famous enough to have a lot of money. They were just getting by, and it was racing in another world. And then they all got famous, and it was like, okay.
But you were also watching great race car drivers without realizing at the time, like, you were just watching like some racing, but those were all top level race car drivers.
All top when they had the Saturday night races, and they raced on Saturday night at the asphalt there. That was all of the big name stars in that whole big area of that, and you'd like, it's just like racing, And now then if you advance that a few years, and they're like, man, them all the big stars, there they all were.
They must have been pretty good when I was
you tell
watching.
people you know them, and you're like, nah, you don't know them. Okay, fine. But it was that's where they all came to, because it was one of the best tracks around. It was a half-mile track, asphalt, and it was a good track. But then Progress took over, and they built a school there. That's where North Welcome High School is. It's right where the racetrack was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where the new school is, yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm going to also take a guess that you probably ended up helping quite a few of them as well.
Oh, because you think about it. There's a famous one there called Banjo Matthews. And my dad and this guy Dick Bowens, who built a lot of flatheads, they thought that I ought to, because I had an interest in it, well, maybe we ought to try to get you a job there. And this guy he was a grouch. Oh, he was a real grouch. So we went out there, and they said, we'd like to get him a job here. And he's like, what does he do? And he said, well, we've been training him a little bit about flatheads and stuff. I said, I don't need anybody. He said, you can sweep the floor. He just turned around and walked off, And my dad and Dick Moore said, okay, I guess you're in. Well, that's what I did for a long time, sweep the floor, and then they'd probably give you a little bit.
I mean, that's kind of how it happened with you with what you're doing now, right?
Exactly, exactly. And then they introduced me to Ben Barnes. Now, wow. That's one of the most famous engine builders around there. He built engines for Jack Ingram, who was the original Iron Man and and all this stuff. Well, then they introduced me to Fred Miller, that was my engine trainers. And for that time, they were like, if you got to be with those guys, whoa, that was something. It's kind of like today, the team I'm with now, somebody say, you're with them? Well, yeah. So, but it's a series of stuff. Could you have it as a pattern to get into something? No, because some of that stuff just happens this way, and how'd you meet those people? It's kind of coincidental on some of it, and some of it you think, well, I don't know how that all came about. How'd they get to meet Cooper? Mm-hmm. Well, it just... by accident, by whatever, I don't know. It's just the way the circumstances work out sometimes.
But it seems like you were given a thread of opportunity at all of these chances, but what you actually did with it is what set it apart, because there could have been 10 other people about your age at the time that got that same opportunity and didn't show up the next day to sweep the floors because they were like, well, I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm. And the thing of it is,
not Dad.
he gave me that task, that when you went in there, and he would try, I think sometime at the very start, he tried to see if I'd leave, So he'd give me junk jobs. I'm talking about, when I say junk jobs, if oil turned over on the floor, I mean, he was one, you think I'm bad about it? Oh, if a drop of oil hit the floor in that shop?
Yeah, I'm telling you, were serious about that stuff as a kid.
Oh, get that boy over here. And you was on your hands and knees down there to clean that up. And the guys that were doing the engines and some of the chassis and stuff, they weren't real careful because they knew, get that cleanup guy over here. There we go. Okay. So you had a broom in one hand, clean stuff in the other. But it was, as you say, it was the opportunity that few people, most didn't want. They wanted to come in to start at the top, And them guys don't work that way, So it's, you either start at the bottom. It's kind of like in grocery stores when you start with them in the old days. Get that broom over there. And at night you were stocking, and it wasn't under the glitz on the thing. Oh, you work at the Ingalls grocery store? No, I sweep in the back. I work in the back, and I carry out the bad stuff. That. And get this. Now, one of my first jobs, this a little not off color, but someone said, "Do you ever work in a fast food?" I worked in the McDonald's in Asheville back in the days when you had to peel the potatoes.
Oh, wow.
And then we got a automatic potato peeler. Can you imagine that? Made it on right there. Yes, I had.
You're telling your age, Dad.
Yeah, of course and you could go in and get you a couple of hamburgers and a French fry for about 60 cents. Like, whoa, really? Oh yeah. But anyway, that's a page out of history way back then.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to think the transition of McDonald's you saw from peeling potatoes to what it is now. It's like a different world.
It was crazy. I mean, that was like.
Well, McDonald's was probably better back then.
Yes,
but it's pretty fresh
because of that.
It's the real deal, yeah. But no slam to them now. But, and we even had drive-in restaurants then where you could drive in.
I didn't know you worked there.
Wow. Oh yeah. The one down on Tunnel Road. The one that's still on Tunnel Road. That was when I worked at, and it was like had a big golden arch thing outside, and a little speedy guy there, Oh yeah, and I came in, had a 49 Chevrolet pickup that I drove to and from work. And park in the back. Don't park in the front where the customers are. Park way in the back, And that was my job. I was peeling potatoes. And then we got that potato machine. Oh, you take a big sack of potatoes, load it up in that thing, and just scrub them off, Out they went. And then it had this thing on the wall. At first, it was a press. It had two of them together. You put the potato in it, pressed it, and it come out. There was the fries. And then we got an automatic one. You just loaded them in there and hit the button, boom, and now you're going fries. So it's progress.
His memory is unbelievable.
I mean, that was like, I remember that stuff so well. We had
and you're a nurse.
We're talking about his first job like it was, he did it yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
And we had
maybe he's just making it all up, but it's
no, I'm serious. I mean, you can check it out.
We weren't there.
because right next door to it.
None of us were there, so.
There's no records, I'm sure.
Right next to it was this place called Babe Malloy's. And now what that was, it was a drive-in. Well, when I said drive-in, it was a little drive-in restaurant. you drove into the place, and they had all these stations, where you pull up to it, and you got the little thing here. You roll your window up part way and just prop up the thing in there, and then you get your order together and hit the button. Yeah, order, please. And you order it that way, and then the girl come out. Now, sometimes they'd walk in, and sometimes the fancy ones got roller skates, and they'd skate out there to your order, and then prop it up in your window, you roll your window part way, and it's this little tray, and you're setting all this stuff in.
That was on Tunnel Road, too?
Yeah. Well, at this same place, they had a radio tower. There was a local one, and you could go over to the bottom of the radio tower. It had a big 10-gallon bucket that they dropped down from the top up there with a string. And you wrote your request down, dropped it in that, banged the bucket on the side, and they'd pull it up. Oh, we got a request here for such and such a song. And they'd play it. I mean, it just local. Wow. It was just for local, But you tune your radio over to that, and there you were. They're playing your songs like, okay.
So, now, Dad, because you lived through all of that, that's probably whoa, the way we are now.
Oh,
it's probably a culture shock to you now, how we live.
Yeah, the way it is now, it's like with your cell phones. My goodness, there's so much you can do on this. It's like this whole computer, it's a tracking system too, but you got to see it. Well, it is. It's not a cell phone, it's a tracking device.
They're listening to you.
But, we got you, we see you.
Which is probably huge for you. You're famous, but for us, it's no big deal.
We're not interesting people.
But you got this cell phone that does everything. I mean, think about it. Oh, and if you want to know a question or get an answer about one, don't ask somebody your age. They ask my age, and they're like, I don't know. Well, you ask somebody 8 or 10 years old, and they're like, how'd you do that? Well, it's easy. Really? It's easy for you. Or I give it to my daughters, and they're like that. Yeah. Could you slow that down a little bit and show me? And then
he said, write it in steps.
And then they're texting along. You get this thumbprint deal. So I've got over here on the H&P method, hunt and peck, dun, 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 dun. And they're like, oh, you're going to have to step it up. Well,
you're doing good, though, Dad.
Well, you don't want to get over there and say, well, back in the day, and everybody says, no, here goes some big tale. Well, you don't want that, but you want to try to be as much as you can in it. But
your back in the day is interesting.
But you don't want to lose all your survival skills, you know what I mean? So to have that, so okay, I remember when we done this.
Yeah, I've needed those recently. Yeah, good survival skills.
Well, now Steph would know about the survival skills because what just went through Asheville. Whew, okay.
Yeah, you need those.
Okay.
But Dad was the first out of all of us to have a 16, the iPhone 16.
Yeah.
Oh, think about that.
Amazing. Wow.
And we've got it right over there.
Yeah.
I don't know
technology.
I don't know how to operate it.
You
but
beat me.
I don't know how to operate it, but we got it, So
he's famous on YouTube. He's big on technology.
Yeah.
So, but I am trying. A lot of people show me a lot of different things about it. Oh, you just do this or this, And my teammates always show me too. They're like, "Oh, come on now, get with the program." And
That's the hazard of everybody being younger than you.
So my captain out there likes everything. When you walk in this job, you better have that phone silenced. So I said, well, the one I had before that, you could just hit the button and it was silenced. So I said to Ty, how do I silence this thing? And he said, just take your hand across it. Really? Yeah, just the little bell there, hit that. Silence. Okay. So a lot of good features on it. I understand that. But, yeah, it's takes a little learning stuff. So I think when you quit learning, they start throwing dirt in your face. He's done.
Yeah, you're done.
I just don't know how you have room for it all because the memory recall is just what I've always am in awe of. Mm-hmm. We were talking about a book the other day. We were talking about Mere Christianity and your recall of the chapters that I had just read. And they were fresher in his mind than in my mind, and I was very impressed. It was a great.
His mind is amazing.
Oh, we got. The thing of it is, but it's to get to be with the people that cause you to think and to do and to be aware of what you have, because it's always been my belief that when people say retirement, it's a word I try not to even use, and I really don't like. Is that word retirement because it shows signs of me like, okay, we just got to sit around, and wait on whatever. I'm not being Pollyannish about it. I know you're not going to live forever here. I understand that. But until that time, why don't we be active about what we're doing,
Oh, you're definitely active.
Well,
well, you sold your business selling detailing spray, and now it appears you sell more detailing spray.
We had, I remember when we sold it, this guy from Indiana, he and I had the business, and he built a house in Indiana, and he lives back up there now. So when we sold it, my next door neighbor, who's a very famous person too, says to me, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, well, just work on my own cars. And he said, well, you ought to come over to shop sometime and look at our group. Well, I knew these guys from the racetrack, and I said, well, yeah, that'd be nice. So one day he took me over there, and people were saying, who's the famous next door neighbor? Well, it's James. Okay. So we go over there, and who's there but Cletus.
And I remember you coming out to Texas, like, I guess a couple of years ago. Well, what is that? Was that 2020?
I've been 20, yeah.
Yeah, and you said, I've been over there to the racetrack, and I've met these people. And I'm like, Dad, please, like, no, you haven't. Like, you know the people on YouTube? No, Dad. Like,
and they're like, no, you don't know him. Well, really, I do,
Isaac was like, I think your dad's making up stuff.
Yeah, I think he's a little senile on the thing. He didn't really clean up that red car. Yeah, he did. No, not that red car. Yes, and he done that Blazer too. No.
I mean, even our kids, like, they're like, Grandpa's famous.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we have our son tried to sell Cletus' sunglasses at church for $50.
Cletus gave him a pair of glasses.
It said my grandpa signed it, like Mr. Sands.
Cletus gave him a pair of glasses one time when they were here. And he said, oh, told my students, I'm selling that's a gift, you know. Well, he had him like he had an audience there at church. So So one of the ladies came to Tiffany and said, you know, your son trying to peddle a pair of glasses here at the church,
for $50.
Next time you're out in Texas, you got to bring them by Matt Demo Ranch.
You know, I was down to Matt's place, and I've got to take the girls back down there because when I was down there, I was so busy. And I said, well, how's things going, Matt? And he said, man, it's so busy around there. He said, I'm trying to buy a castle. And I said, that's good. Every YouTuber should have a castle.
Aspirations.
And he said, no, I'm serious. And I said, great, I'm happy for you. So after I left, and the next day was when he was going to do it, so I called him back and I said, well, did we get the castle? And he said, we got the castle. And he does, yeah. It's an unusual thing. But Matt's place is unbelievable. He's got
see that.
His merchandise thing is called bunker branding, you know? And it's quite the place. You look at it and think, wow, what is that? Well, that's his merchandise house. Okay.
Well, Matt's basically the gun guy of YouTube, so obviously.
Okay. Well, obviously.
There's a heavy connection there as well.
And the thing is, and when you look at Matt's Demo Range, you think, how does he get by with all that? Okay. Let's shoot this tree today. Okay, good. We're going to knock it plumb down? Yeah, we're going to take it plumb out. Okay. But it's quite a setup he's got down there. Yeah, he said, buying that. And I said, okay, good. And he did. So did you buy a castle? Oh, he sure did. All right.
And we've never even talked that you also dabble in some firearms here and there. And some, James was telling me you have some products for firearms as well that haven't even come to market yet. Some oils and lubricants.
Matter of fact, this would be a good opportunity to say it. We just got listed a product called CLP, which means cleans, lubricates, and protects. It's for any metals that are prone to rust, and we don't want our firearms, especially on the slides and any of that, to rust. But this stuff is, and one does not want to brag on his own product, but it's pretty tricky stuff. It really is. Yeah. And because I've put it against, when making it, I put it against the best in the market. We won't call no names, so we don't get no trouble. But I took the 5 best in the market and said, okay, there's the 5. And that was what I run the test against for that. And I told my design engineers and the chemists, it's got to be better than.
And that's the thing about you, like you stand, if you don't like the product, you would not even support it or go behind it.
You think about it. If you're going to put your,
what you use.
If you're going to put, you used to say if you're going to put your name on it, and now if you're going to put a picture of you on there, it better be what you say, because if not, get you in trouble in a heartbeat. Well, this, and I've tried all the others, and I've still got them sitting in my shop out there, is run it through the tests and make it fair for everybody on it, and say, okay, who survives? And it did. So that formula now is encased in there. It's what you guys is now. And I'd say to people that buy it, put it to the test. Whatever you're using, put it to the test on it. And it's available for sale like right now. Yes, as a matter of fact.
That's cool. I didn't even realize that. Well, I was thinking about it because James told me like maybe 2 years ago that he was using it. Yeah. And he was like, oh, man, this stuff's real good. Yeah. And to really show how you do things that was 2 years ago, and he still hasn't announced it because it's got to be right.
Along the way, You know, it's easy sometimes, I say easy, in product development like that, it's easy to say, boy, this is great, and you just put it in market, and then it falls apart or whatever on the thing, get yourself a bad name. You've got to put it through every test that you can possibly think of.
Because that's the patient side of you.
Well, it really is, you know, and if you don't do that, someone will find it out, you know, because if we mention, or if I mention on something, okay, don't do this, then when I'm testing, I do the exact opposite of that. If I say don't put it on direct sunlight like on car wax, don't put it on direct sunlight as one of the tests, I put it on in direct sunlight. The hotter the better, to see what is going to go wrong. Because, you know, sometimes we don't all have a shaded area to put it on, but you can't do this or that, so we say, no, let's try it anyway. Well, you want to be aware of that and to have it to where you've at least went to that. So how can we correct that? Here's what you do.
And one of your son-in-laws is the biggest critic ever. So.
Oh, I have this one son, oh my. And I tell him, I said, give me your thoughts on it, which I know he's going to. And he'll say, yeah, okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, you done this or this, yep, we'd buy that.
My husband doesn't hold back. He'll tell him.
Oh, my. Yeah, and I always ask him, say, what do you think? Let me use it. So I just use it. Okay, I'll give you this. So, yeah.
I've been using it, the spray wax, forever. Mm-hmm. So when it became famous, for me it was like, well, I know it's good. I mean, I was one of those that wouldn't wash the car. I would just spray it with the wax.
Yeah.
And it was good to go.
Oh, you took it through the car wash and didn't tell Dad.
Well, I used to go to the car wash, but like when I was 17 and he had a product, you know, I was using it without washing the car. I would just spray it down with the wax. I mean, and it would come clean. It was shiny.
Product too.
It was shiny.
And I would tell him, you know, please don't go through them slap-o-matic car wash. And like, okay, got it. And I'd see on the car, and I think, them scratches.
I'm like, how does he know we went through the car wash?
And you'd look at it and there's all them scratches from it, brush, and like, yeah, we can correct that, but why you guys keep going doing that? Well, they didn't want to directly lie you, but, well, maybe we did just have a couple extra quarters and went through there. Yeah, I know you did.
Yeah, even my children, they tell people, you go through the car wash.
Yeah, we don't.
Don't tell my grandpa. Like, that's bad.
Yeah, we don't do car wash.
Because, you know, people would come by our shop, you know, and they'd say, you got anything for this? And I'd say, you've been to car wash, haven't you? How'd you know? Well, look at it. This brush is trying to knock the fenders off your car. Yeah, we can correct that for a couple of times, and then it's to the paint shop. Really?
But you do stand behind your product as far as, like, you use it, you believe in it, like. You won't let somebody use it until you believe in it.
Good point. Think about this. A lot of people, you'll ask them, do you use your own product? And some of them are like, sometimes or most of the time.
I can't.
Because if you're not a detailer, I mean.
Well, yeah.
But if they don't use their own product, I want you to buy it, but I don't use it.
Yeah.
What kind of a deal is that? Mm-hmm. So no, everything. If you look. And on the cars that I do every day, look around. It's all there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not for advertisement. It's just what I use, you know.
Yeah.
So, but he's that's my guy. That's my guy.
So you have a lot of grandkids too. This is something me and Bronte were talking about. Is how do you get them into firearm safety? Because I know that's obviously something, and Texas and Nashville is probably all pretty well ingrained in those states. But how do you introduce that?
What I did was this, you know, that you have to be extremely truthful and realistic, meaning you have to show them exactly what it's like standing there with a beer and telling them, hey, you shouldn't be drinking beer because it'll kill you. Well, I'm confused. So you have to show them, say, okay, well, let's take guns. Well, what does that thing do? It can be used a couple of ways. You can get in trouble with it, or it can be whatever. But here's what it will do, and you show them what it will do, like, wow. Now, you see that piece of wood it went through. That wood's a lot tougher than your body. It'd go through your body pretty easy. And then you have to get into maybe they don't like the word safety, but you have to say, okay, we got to have the safety factor. You got one set of hearing, so when you shoot this thing, it's pretty loud, so plug them up. And remember, you can't be shooting people, so we'll call everything, quote, downrange, if you will. And downrange just simply means that the barrel needs to be going away from you or away from people around you. And the more you keep on that, and then, what's the old guy say? You got to practice what you preach. Because if you're telling them, and you're slinging it around like, oh, does it know not to hit you? No. You want to keep, and that's just, when you're done with it, lay it down, downrange on the thing. Now then, and it's got to be empty. Okay. And then when you put the action in there, we'll call it ammunition. We put the action in there. Okay, remember, this thing can hurt you. And then in the house, and you don't necessarily have to leave one loaded in the house. I'd say no. But you want to say, okay, when we have it in the house here, you have to have high respect for these things. The same respect you'd have for a sharp knife. Mm-hmm. Think about it. Mm-hmm. Will that knife cut you? Oh, sure it will. Well, you can use it to cut a tomato, and it does just fine. Would it cut you the same way? Oh, yes, it will. Well, any of those, your car, let's take your car. You have to be taught how to do the car. Because could it kill you? Sure. Could you kill somebody? Sure. It's a weapon. But it's to be used wisely.
Yeah, I mean, I think because you had taught Elijah, you went up to when we were in Texas, and you taught him how to shoot a shotgun. Mm-hmm. And, like, it's just that reverential fear of, like, knowing that it could hurt something, but also understanding how it works. Like, that was, because now he's like, I understand that thing could hurt somebody, but I'm not afraid of it. Like, because I feel like that as us as kids, we were kind of afraid of it. Like, we're never.
And now then but you know, you think about this. Here's something that we'll do well to always remember is we teach as we have been taught. Now, if you're taught wrong, well, that's what you're teaching is wrong. Mm-hmm. But we teach as we have been taught. So if you're learning any and all things, it can be from your schoolwork to whatever on the thing, as you have been taught, and hopefully it's the proper method you've been taught, then that's what we keep transferring. And in a lot of ways, that's your legacy. That's the legacy you want to leave it's not so much leaving a monetary thing as it is leaving something that they can, you can put it to the adage of fishing on the thing, teach them how to fish, and they got it forever. But if you just give them a fish, that's today's meal. But if you've got it to where it's something they've learned, can be whatever, can be about financing, can be about car, whatever, they can keep that, then they can teach as they have been taught. Mm-hmm. And that's how we carry it.
Taking trash out.
Yeah, well, you can adapt to anything you like, And then sometimes as parents, we can just say, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I do that.
Yeah.
Like,
But you have
hard.
to say, wait a minute. That's why I've got these slaves here. And you think, what? Well, yeah. Someone asked me one time, said, did you guys have slaves? And I said, yeah, on our farm. And they're like, you did? And I said, yeah. Really? I said, yeah, we had 4 female slaves and 1 male slave. And they're like, you did? I said, yeah. I have 4 sisters and me. And they're like, oh, come on. I said, I'm telling you, we didn't get no pay. Allowance? What was that? I didn't know what that was. But you did get the free meals.
I remember the first time we asked you for an allowance, you said, what for?
So why? What's that all about? Because, you had a chance to have a meal 3 times a day. You had clothes to put on, and you got to go to school, and had a place to live. And it's like, what else? As my dad would say, what else y'all want? Nothing. We're okay.
That man scared me.
But we still had when we were, I don't know, 6, 7, my grandparents were still out at the farm.
Yeah.
They still, that house that I grew up in. And so we got to see the tobacco farm and the spring house.
Bathroom.
The no bathroom was a kicker for a 6-year-old, and you're going to an outhouse.
Yeah. That was,
and it was different.
When bathrooms could have been around by then.
Yeah, they were.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
And you were way behind.
Yeah,
we was behind.
Yeah.
We had we didn't have any running water in the house. Had a big spring down it you carried water from.
Yes.
We didn't no central heat. It was just a wood stove and one in the kitchen and a big wood stove back in the front room. Has only 2 heated rooms. I slept upstairs. And whatever the temperature was outside, that was the temperature inside. It's like, okay, it's going to be cold tonight.
Yeah, it was
I know
cold
it
in there. Yeah.
And it was, oh my, it was, whew. You get up in the morning, and it was.
But honestly, I feel like that's what's wrong with the generation now.
They got a little,
they should sleep
soft.
like that sometimes.
They got a little soft. It's just because, we say, oh, we want everything for our children. We want them to have it this way. And sometimes I say, do you really? Mm-hmm. Do you? I mean, if the hard stuff comes along, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
No. Well, let them have a little hard stuff.
Or like no power. I mean.
Yeah, like what you went
7
through.
days, an 11-year-old.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But then she learns ways to And it was kind of nice.
They teach as they have been taught. I mean, think about that.
Yep, it was
and
nice.
you think about how many times during the power outage do you go to the light switch and say,
Flip it on.
Oh.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah.
And
Every
you're
day,
saying,
go to the
oh, what do you
bathroom.
keep hitting the switch for? Habit.
But we had an ice storm in Dallas one time, and our power was out for like 4 days, and the kids were like, "We are not going to survive." And I'm like, "We'll make it." Like, we had
The ice power outage too hits a little different than the hurricane
Yes.
power
it,
outage.
it was cold, and it was.
Here it's like
chilly.
you got power outage, but it's 70 and sunny the next day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There it's like
Very good.
40 degrees
Yeah.
out.
You could go
Very good.
outside. You could not go outside there.
Yeah,
it was,
no.
it was cold.
But it's, I don't know, it's, we want to sometimes say, and this is no slam of any kind, oh, this younger generation. Well,
I'll say that.
us older generation, we've got to teach them on it. They really do. And
It's true.
And I know you're saying, why do you keep saying teaching? Well, I used to teach school, and you've got to be to where everything can be backed up. Because if you say, oh, that ain't real, check me out. And they do, and they're like, oh, okay. You got to be able to back up what you say. That's the same thing I put into the products on the thing. If you put down there, don't just fill out your label with a bunch of fluffy stuff on the thing. Oh, that looks pretty up there. It's nice handwriting. Will it do that? No, but it looks nice. That's no good. You want to put, if you put it does this, better do that. If it does this, better do that. Well, the same with you as a person and the things that you do and the things that you say. Can you back that up? Yes. Okay, good. Let's see that. Let me see your actions. And if they do that, it's like, okay. Now, they may not come back to you and admit it, but that's the way it is. It's kind of like the cars that we have out here for our team. People look at those cars and they think, I could have one of those. And they could. I mean, the newest thing I have is a 23 pickup, and I just got it, but they look at my cars and they say, yeah, you got a bunch of old junk. Yeah, I could have one of those. And they could. Not maybe
I like the
not
new
going.
stuff, Dad. Sorry.
Oh,
But you have a bunch of old stuff.
a bunch of old stuff on there.
You don't just have like
you just
one.
pick and choose. You know, well, I think I'll drive that one today. Well, maybe I'll drive this one today.
You
But
got
it's-
some old 90s Toyota. Yeah.
There's an old 90s Toyota sitting there and got this funny looking writing on the back like a script says S deal, you know. Yeah.
I like when you
But-
start it, it starts, Dad. Like, you don't have to go up underneath the hood and, tinker with stuff.
Oh,
when you
well, now,
start.
now there's most of these, big percentage of them, you just go and hit the key.
Yeah,
Because not long ago.
especially those two in the front garage.
Yeah, no, two in the front, they're just sitting there next to each other. Like the one says to the one, well, I got more power than you got. And the other says, well, I'm prettier than you are. Well, I don't know about that. Well, my radio works better than yours. Well, my AC works better than yours. That's the conversation they have. And then they say, well, we'll get the truck up here and we'll settle this. So the turbo one says, I don't think so. To start you might, but I'll get you in the end. That sort of thing. So it's just conversations they have.
Not getting in that truck again.
Really?
The white one?
No?
No.
I want to drive that.
Oh, you're going to today.
Oh, that's a good one to learn how to.
That's a
for
great
the
one.
16-year-old.
That's a great one for a
because
16.
that's is that the truck we got him? That we got him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't have that.
Yeah, well, it's
thing
just
on it.
He doesn't need the supercharger yet.
I mean, I'll ride in it with you, but
Okay.
even before
says
it
a lot. She
had,
trusts me.
before it had the supercharger, it was a lot
Yeah, it was
for me. Dad made it a lot for me.
You make everything.
So what, I want to get some advice from him here for the people. What kind of stuff do you guys have heard from him that is worth noting or hearing again, maybe, that we can extract from him why we got him? I always try to get as much value from him as possible because it's a lot of value.
There's
to be
so
had.
much, yeah.
It's hours.
Definitely his work ethic.
Yeah.
That's something I did get from that you really taught us. Like, if you're going to do something, do it and do your best and
Stay with it.
stay with it. Don't quit.
Yep.
Yeah,
So where does that come from for you then? Where did you get your work ethic?
my parents. Oh,
Your dad sounded pretty stern from my.
The one thing you did not do on a farm is go and say, oh, there just ain't nothing to do. He'd hand you a list about that long. Well, just start right here. And you're like, I ain't doing that again. Well, it's enough to go around. I have 4 sisters, and they worked just as hard as I did on it. So you did not go in the house and say,
But you got beat. Like,
oh, you know, the thing is, you wanted to keep on the good side of your sisters on the thing, because if not, four of them ganged up on you, they'd work on your head. So I've tried to give to my daughters and to their children what my parents gave to me. And it certainly wasn't money. They didn't have money to give. You know, the little pine box you put them in when they went out of here, they didn't have the money to pay for that. We as the children did. But what they left us is what I try to give to you guys, you know. And it's not like I said, it's not a monetary thing, because once the money's spent, it's like, well, they should have left more. But if they've left you something you can rely on every day, then that's what I try to leave with you guys. What I try to leave with my team, with anybody that you run into, is, okay, what would you leave with these people? Well, do this. I mean, if the job is worth doing, put 100% in it. Put all you have into it. And if it's not, just walk away from it. Just get away.
Yeah, because you would always say, you know, if you're going to do it all the way. Don't quit. Don't.
And if it's not worth,
and do the dirty stuff. You know,
oh yeah, dirty stuff comes with it. Bad stuff comes. Not everything is all good on the thing. You know, it's because people work in a pie factory. After a while, they say, "Phew, if I had to not to buy that pie, I want to die." That sort of thing. So you be about what you are about. And I know that sounds a little redundant, but if it's not, you know, and if that's what you put your mind to do, then go on and do it. You'll have the strength to do it. And
Dad's always been that way, though. Whatever job, whatever, like hobby or sales rep, he's always been that way.
Yeah, I mean, we used to watch him when we were kids in sales, and he was like early in the morning, diligent, on time. Like he was went over and beyond for everybody. And that's why you were like recognized everywhere you ever were, because you always went over and beyond everything you did. Like it was a standard. And you know, you have your. We all have customers, whether we're selling a product or not. We all have customers, and it's how you treat your customers. Now, your customer can be your wife, can be your husband, whomever on the thing. It's who you serve, because we all are here to serve somebody. Yeah. Now, we get served by others, yes, we do, but you're here to serve. I mean, and it feels good to serve people. It really does, because that's part of the essence of us as humans. It's what we do, and we do it very well. And you never like acted like that you need to be compensated for like the littlest thing. Like you would just do it and then just believe that, you know, it was going to be for the good or.
And when you do something for somebody, do not expect repayment. Don't do that, and don't bring it back up again. And if you just so happen to have money to give to someone, and they need it, and they don't or can't pay you back, don't get on the horse and try to ride it around and say, you owe me. No, just leave it go.
I mean, that's true, though, because I will say he helped my husband and I when we first were married, and he's never mentioned a word about it. And it's stupid mistakes we made, but he never said a word.
But you can't do that, because when you go to people in need, don't be bringing up that need again, because it's over. It's done. You were there. You were there for a purpose. You feel the need. Now get over it and go on about it.
It's like when we lived with you for a year and 4 months. I say year and 4 months. Year and 4 months. And somehow we got pregnant during that time too.
I remember. Oh my goodness, it was so fun. We
somehow
I don't know.
It was the water, and I told him, I said, "Don't be drinking that water. You know what it does." Well, we went ahead and drank a little. Well, I remember coming home one night. It's late, and I walked to the door. And they were standing, her and her husband were standing in the hallway and grinning like a Cheshire cat. And I thought, okay.
I don't know that I was.
So I looked, and I just held up like that, and she said, "How did you know?" And I said, "Tiffy, none of the kids are dead. I didn't get a panic call. You guys look okay, so it's got to be, well, I said, "Don't tell me you don't know what happened. Don't tell me that." And I said, "I am overjoyed. It's fantastic. I wish you had more, because..." Well, okay, we got one shaking the head.
But I mean, like, you let us stay there, and you never acted like you wanted repayment. And that's how you treat people. I mean, you would give somebody their shirt off your back and never expect something back.
You cannot. If you're going to do something for someone, then do it and get on. Don't go back to them and say, no. Because how they react or repay is them. Now, how you do it is you, because that's what you got to exude, is what you are. You know, not their habits. That's not what you're looking for. You want to show them who you are, but you do it out of your heart. You know, and that's what you do to them. And that's what we as society, it's what we used to be in America as our society, and then we became a bit selfish. So when you have something of value, and that's you, yourself, that you want to give to someone in time of need, then do that. If it's $10 and they need $10 and you only got $10, well, give it to them and get over it and get over with it. That's what we are as Americans, and that's what the rest of the world sees about us as Americans. Like, as Americans are so generous. We're the most generous country in the world. Have been, always will be. That's just who we are and what we do. And we have to take that to our children so that they take it to their children and on, because that's how this whole society does work. Because if you take money, okay, let's just take money out of the system, okay? Just take money away. Now what do you got? You got the barter system. Okay, now you can barter with goods or you can barter with yourself. Okay, let me trade you some labor. Used to, when we was cutting tobacco, we'd cut in this field, then go to that field, then go to that field. Nobody paid nobody. You could get a lunch out of it or a supper, something maybe. Mm-hmm. But you took your own stuff, your tobacco knife, your spuds, and everything else, and we're cutting over here today, and then we're cutting over there tomorrow, and then cutting over here. And then when yours got ripe and ready, everybody's over at your house. And you cut it, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Same with when you're doing hay, anything like that. You didn't go in and say, okay, we had 10 people here, and you got $5 an hour, and you got... No, it was understood. That's not why you were doing it. It was for the monetary thing. And that's... I've found that when you do something because you want to do it, now if you've got the want to do it, man, you'll dive right in and do a good job, and that's it. And you don't want...
But you put that into Stephanie, too, because that's how she is as a nurse.
Oh, let's tell them about this nursing thing.
Yeah.
Nurse Stephanie sitting over here
she
goes
would do anything
way above and beyond what's required at your job, and as you well know.
And there tends to be a lot required
yes.
at a nursing job to start with.
She does,
the baseline is a lot.
Yeah, she does, though.
But if you enjoy it, then, I mean, like Dad, he enjoys what he does, and so he gets up every day and does it. And so I enjoy it.
And you were nursing in Asheville through everything that happened. Was there a boom in people coming and hurt, or was it kind of like...
So my department is like the surgery area. So we didn't have as much, obviously. We weren't doing surgery. There was no water. So, but in the emergency departments and things like that, yes, first 4 to 5 days was an overflow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I didn't know if it was like I was in New York after 9/11, and there was no one coming into the hospitals. It was like
it was
thing.
First 4 to 5 days, but after that, we closed many floors.
Wow,
because there was nobody was coming in.
It's so eerie.
It was. It was.
I can't even imagine what you went through during that. I'm kind of at a loss for words on that whole situation.
It was different, for sure.
I mean, especially seeing, like, where you grew up, just, like, demolished.
Nothing. Nothing there, you know.
Just literally.
And
not being rebuilt back yet at all.
Yeah, just places that you drive through every day that you assume are going to be there the next day, you know. Yeah. There's no road. And not just places like in the country, you know,
where everybody acts like that's where it was, but it's town.
In town, you know, Tunnel Road, like
Biltmore.
It's taken out, just literally taken out.
And like there might not be a road for a while, like you're saying. Yeah, like it's not.
You don't see a lot of movement. Mm-mm.
She said there's still cars and rivers. Still, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
It's not a bounce back.
I don't think they know how to do it.
Yeah.
I think there's still people missing. I think.
Yes.
I don't think they've even found everyone.
No.
Well, you think about something like this has never happened. So what do you do when it does happen?
Yeah.
Here, when we have hurricanes or whatever,
here,
we know what to do.
People,
But there, when you've not had something
it's
like that.
It's like you come down here and it's like it just bounces back. Like everything just bounces back down here. Like. And then I was going to say the other thing is you've always had a positive attitude about everything.
Yeah.
Everything is so positive. Like when we were growing up, it almost irritated us when we were growing up. Like, but Dad, no, we're going to look at the good in this. Like there's something good going to be out of this. And I'm like, oh my word.
Well, think about it. Every situation that comes to you, it can split it, good or bad. It's your choice. You can take it decide you want. Well, what's the good part of it? Well, pick something out. Everything has something good that comes to you. Every opportunity that comes to you, it has a good and a bad side. It has, I couldn't do that, or I could do that. Well, it's whichever one you choose to take, and the choice is always yours. Mm-hmm. And after a while, if you find yourself, it's kind of like this. You have a lot of people, watch them when they shop. Where's the cheap stuff? Oh, why you go over there? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Well, it's less as compared to what? As compared to another one? How about comparing it to you? Oh, so you're cheap. Oh, that's what. So this vehicle you're in, it's kind of like a racehorse. Okay, here's how you do racehorses, and here's how you don't do racehorses. Through the week you keep him up late, and then in the morning you feed him some molded oats, and then you tell him, "Boy, get out there and do your best." Really? No, it don't work that way. It's like, I can't even run, man. My stomach's upset. Well, if you, being the machine that you are, well, are you not worth it?
Yeah.
Well, I think I'll just have the mince meat there, and that's okay. I'd like to have that one over there, but yeah, why not take it? I guarantee you tomorrow you won't know what you spent the money on it. You won't get in your budget tomorrow and say, well, if I hadn't had that piece of pie over here, I could have done that. No, because you have to look out for, okay, who's driving this thing? You. Okay, better take care of the driver. Well,
or when you run your golf clubs over, your dad does not even holler at you.
Well,
it's golf clubs.
Raised it a little bit.
It's golf clubs.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, he even said, like, after you got a little upset, you said, I'll just get some more.
And we did. We got some more. Yeah.
Or flip the golf cart over.
One time.
I dream of being like that.
One time.
He's so calm. I mean, we would be. I mean,
I'm serious.
We would be on the golf.
Get this. One time we went to this golf course, and they looked at my girls and said, you be the only one driving the golf cart? Looking at me, and I said, yes. Now, I don't like to lie. Don't do that. And I knew that when we got out of sight, they were going to say, Dad, well, here we're going to golf cart, and we're just barely out of sight. And Steph says, Dad, do I get to drive first? Well, we can't be, I said, girls, we can't be driving. They see it's a clubhouse, Well, what's all? So what Steph do? Put it in a tree, the first thing. Well, here we are. It's hung up in this tree, and I thought, oh, this ain't good. This is not going to be good.
That's because when you taught her, she's the one who had the wrecks, everything.
Oh, my.
I never wrecked. She wrecked, like, every car, everything.
We had a few, we had
I don't know what you
driving
did when you
with
taught
caution
her.
now. I've had 2 wrecks in my life, and
2?
Mm-hmm. I backed over a rock at your house. I didn't wreck it.
Oh, you went off the ledge.
I didn't wreck it.
I remember the little forward on the thing.
Just backed it
So
up.
what do you mean to knock the rear end out from under? Well, it's pretty bad. Okay, well, what happened? Well, we'll talk about that. Okay, fine. But Dad said...
My car?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
my
black
first
one,
wreck.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It was a good one, yeah.
Yeah, that was...
So did this come from personal development, or was it just kind of how it always was? Was it from reading? Was it from, like, trying, or was it just...
Here's what... It started on the farm. It really did. It started on the farm. And, on a farm life, contrary to what people think, it's not this glamorous thing that people say, oh, it's so romantic. There's nothing romantic about it.
I didn't think it was romantic.
There's nothing Yellowstone about it.
Not a real farm.
The Yellowstone thing you see, get off of that. Here's what we have. Think about this. My family, that's my sisters and I and our parents, never one time got to go out to eat together. Okay? Never one time. Now, my family never took a vacation together. And you're saying, was you poor? Yeah, it was poor, but them farm animals, what are you going to do out there? Go out there and tell the cows, you cows just going to have to milk yourself. It'll be okay. We'll be back in a few days. And you can tell them horses, and you guys console them, talk to them, because you ain't going to get nothing to eat either. Yeah. And go tell, and while you're coming back, tell the hogs that you guys just have to, you're on your own.
You just couldn't stop.
And the chickens?
Yeah.
You chickens are on your own, too. Farm life doesn't stop. It just goes on and on. So you ask farmers, how many vacations you took? What's that? Type thing. So you learn right away. You can look at the good side to the bad side. And if you take the dark side, it's a bad street to be on. So then when I went into school after that, I thought, okay, which side should you choose? And you can get both sides on it. What's the first book that I read and really adopted? Mm-hmm. Think about it. Napoleon Hill wrote it. There you go.
Think and Grow Rich. Is
Now
that
then,
right?
and people think, yes, people think, well, it's all about money. Ain't got nothing to do with money. Because people think, well, rich, why do you associate that rich with money? It's not what it is. You're developing you through these traits and stuff that's in here. And you look at that and you think, okay. Because all of the greatest people that we ever had was poor as church mice. You know, they just the way they were. And you think, well, goodness sakes, if they can do it, well, why not? So you start to adopt some of those things. And as I say to people, and here's, if there's famous for one saying, here it is. Don't chase money. Because money is smart. Because money knows you're chasing it. And it'll run and hide. Say, you can't catch me here. So you do something that you truly love from the heart. And the heart's not here, the heart's here, I understand that. I mean, you got the organ here, but the heart's really here. Don't chase money, because if you do something that you really, really, really enjoy, I mean, that you're really into, money comes later and says, hey, do you want me? And you say, no, you can stay over there. That.
Yeah,
But if you don't do something, I remember my students would come, and we'd have the people from industry come around in the last quarter of the school year. And they were the ones that come around, and the university system let them in. And they'd come around and they'd interview your best students. And here's how they would do it. They were good psychologists. They gave you that whole, gosh, shucks, not us type thing, and said, shut up. They'd come in and they'd say, okay, they'd take your best student and say, you know, we were such and such industry, and gosh, for someone like you, we couldn't offer you no more than $75,000 a year. Well, at that time, it's like, and I told them, I said, at that time, you're going to go deaf. As soon as you hear that figure, you can't hear nothing else. They're like, oh, come on. So then the interview was over. They'd always ask, what do you think? Yeah, I'd like that. So they go to work for them. Well, now, part of the thing that was required was that you got to have a 1-year re-interview with your student to see how they were doing, how they liked. And to the person, I would ask them, what do you think of your job? Most are like, oh, this thing really sucks. Really? Well, I thought, well, yeah, but what they didn't tell you was this. I was the highest paid one in that department. Now then, you have to wait for all the others to come up to here. Uh-oh. That took a while. So it took a while before we got another raise. And when they got there, the raises were incremental. Whoops. So I told them, I said, you're on a fixed income, aren't you? Well, no, I'm not. Oh, you're not old? No, you're on fixed income. Because anytime you have work for, you're trading labor for dollar, that's called fixed income. Okay, I make 27, 30, doesn't matter what the figure is per hour. That's called fixed. Now, if you can vary that, that's entrepreneurship. So you want to get into where you're the variance. Well, if you pass that along, people say like, okay, because that causes you to use this. The best muscle you have is sitting right up here. The one you use the least, sitting right up here. You want to see we're macho. Well, these give out after a while. That thing, it just keeps on giving on.
His.
Well,
yeah, yours does.
Yeah.
Well, you want to.
Hopefully mine does.
you want to. I mean, exercise. You get up in the morning, you think, what do I get to do today? You get to work on hot rods. Oh, my gosh. Oh, it's such a...
And that's how he gets up, and that's exactly
Yeah,
how
I
it
mean,
is.
but you got up like that when we were kids, too. Like, you used to irritate... Oh, so irritate me. You'd wake up, come on, Tiffy girl, time to wake up. No, Dad.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
out of my face. Like,
Yep.
seriously.
6 a.m.
Like,
Yeah.
we have got
Yes,
to go.
for
You know,
sure.
we have got to go.
oh, he was always like that.
But if you ask me, Gilbert, what to pass along, it would be that is to, we're so fortunate to be, and this sounds like a paid political announcement, but it isn't. We're so fortunate to be here in the USA because we throw away more than most people have in a lifetime.
Yeah.
You think
well,
about it.
and you've seen other countries, you know.
And I've been to a bunch of these other countries, and you think, whoa.
Yeah.
Wait till I get back to the land of the round doorknobs and the round-eyed women. Well, you get back here, and you think, we're so not appreciative of what we have. You know, think about it. I mean, we're just nonchalant. We're going to a store. We're going to a grocery store. Going to a grocery store, and it's like, oh, coffee? We got 27 different kinds. Which, oh, this is number 28. Okay. Bread? Oh, that whole aisle over there is bread from here to there. Whoa, you can't even see the end of it. Oh, candy? Oh, it starts here and goes all the way to the front of the store. And then we got a little bit on the back side. We didn't have room for it. Now, you think about that. And you go into some of these other countries, Okay, we want to go in the bakery department. You're standing at it. It's them 2 cakes. It's a choice.
Or you think about it not being there. I mean, we went through that.
I was just going to say, okay.
You go into
so
we went
down
into
there.
the grocery store after waiting in line for 3 hours outside, and there's nothing. Like nothing for weeks, you know.
Yeah.
So you think about it not being there.
Yeah.
So definitely
You appreciate
people take for granted,
Yes,
like
they do.
it's going to be
They
there
do.
always. And
Yeah. And you used to say that too. You were like,
You think about it.
go away.
It can go ways. I mean, them
Quick.
shelves, there's someone there stocking those shelves. Now,
Yeah.
imagine they're not there. And they're going, it's like, okay, what are they doing with all this racking material that's empty? Oh, used to be grocery shelves. Well, we have that. And it does sound like a flag waving, and that's okay. I am a flag waver because are you willing to fight for that? Oh, big time. Because you go in some of these other different controlled countries. Go look in the grocery store. Oh, you don't have the little card? Oh, you can't buy that. What card? What's a ration card? They get? It's kind of like a ration card, you know? Well, you can't buy that because you're not here. Well, you don't have to here. If you got a card or money, y'all take 2 of that and 1 of this, 3 of that, load the car up and go. Or have them load the car up for you. Think about that.
That's true.
We're a little spoiled. So I get back to, and it brings me back once again, is to your value system that you have, you know, and to teach it to your children, because that's what you were taught as you as a child, and what you want to teach is like, no, we're not going into the abstract poverty, hopefully, but you want to know, okay, if that were gone, what would I do?
Right.
Have you an A, B, and a C plane you? If I didn't have that car, what would I do? How far is it to walk to so-and-so?
Oh, yeah, we did that many times with you.
Think about it. I used to tell.
Because he drove cars that broke down.
I used to tell my girls.
change fuel pump on the interstate. A couple of times on a 10-hour trip.
Because Dad doesn't tell you if something happens until after it happens.
I would tell my girls one time we would go somewhere. I said, you know, girls, when you go somewhere, make sure you take your own transportation. They're like,
That was something you definitely taught us.
Yes,
Like,
and
I
that's
said-
something that
I'm still to this
well,
day.
what does that
Day,
mean?
me
I
too.
said, take your own transportation. Because if you don't, you may be stuck there. Well, like what? Well, a fight might break out and you might be the outsider. Uh-oh.
And it
And you
did.
did.
It did. It broke out with his family, and
Some
We were
Dad
on-
was like, "We're walking."
Some
And
we
we
were on
walked.
foot, so I
yeah.
told my girls, I said, girls, we're gone. What
And
are we
he
driving?
said,
I
"I'll
said,
tell you right now, I'll never not have a car with me." I'm like,
And I told him, I said, you bear this in mind, you know, when you go somewhere, have your own transportation. There's a long walk.
And we didn't even make it the whole way.
No, we
before
did
we
not.
Dad finally gave in and let us
You
ride
did
with
give
Aunt
in?
Brenda.
"Oh yeah, that's right."
Well, they
Yeah.
had been. I said, "Okay,
Yeah,
we're
that
not
was
with you, but
serious.
it's against my will. But we're going to." But you want to say to yourself, "Okay, if this stopped, what would I do? What could I do? Okay, if I didn't have that light switch,
But I think that's from like I know when you were in sales, like reading books and stuff like that, like you learned a lot of that positive, but you also learned like look at the worst, what could happen,
Always.
and then go backwards and say, okay, well you're not dead, so let's go backwards from that. Like that's something you really taught.
Exactly.
And I feel like you were always reading, like always reading.
because if you have, let's think about it this way on the thing. When you've got to further your education. You know, when you get out of school, you're not out of school. You're just starting. So you further your education by educating you each and every day. And it's not to get one up on anybody. It's to have you to take care of yourself on the thing. It's okay. In a situation like this, what do I do? Well, if I didn't have this, what would I do? You go to the bank on a Saturday and they're all closed and the ATM thing doesn't work. And you say, okay, I got 18 cents in my pocketbook here. What do I do? Well, you better think about it. Now, can you go to your friends? Probably. If your friends all out of town, what do you do? So you start, and
Start
you
from the end,
have you a
yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
It's okay, what are we going to do here? If this does come about, I don't know. But even if they take all you have, you still got your head. So remember that.
You do.
You can get you can get back your stuff
That's
pretty quick,
memory.
you know. And so, but anyway,
you
that's
definitely do.
I have Think and Grow Rich sitting on my nightstand right now,
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
full of bookmarks. Because
If you open the glove box on this car right here, and when we go out there,
Oh, I'm
just open the
sure.
glove box, there it lays. And it's not a monetary thing. And I try to tell the people that, you just out that money. No,
That was the first book my husband read out of high school too.
it's
Like,
all
and-
it's just principles
Yeah.
in there on the thing. It's how you govern you, and the one that needs the most governance is yourself, because you think, okay, reminds me about here just a little while back when we had the storm and had the, quote, gasoline shortage. I go to a Circle K, and I can name it because it was a real place. And here sits a guy that's been there, and I pulled up, and he said, he was his country, he said, I ain't got no gas. And I said, okay. I said, so what are you doing here? And he said, I'm just waiting. The truck's going to be here in just a little while. I said, what truck? And he said, the gas truck. Okay. I said, how long have you been here? 2 hours. Sitting here? Yeah. And he did. He waited the gas truck got there about 2 or 3 hours later. He filled up there, and he filled up and left. Now then, all them people panicking going to the gas station, where were they going? To the house. I got that car sitting out there, and it's full of gas. Okay, good for you. Well, at that same station, they got gas, okay? Now everybody's lined up. Okay, here comes some guy broke in line. Fist fight broke out at Circle K. Had to call the police. Oh, come on, you guys. Later on, at another station, what happens? A gunfight broke out. You ain't getting to my place. Wait a minute. Stop it.
That's the thing, too. You're always calm. Like, you calm
Yes.
the situation. Because we would fight, like, I mean, she's mean. Like, she would beat me up.
No.
Like, really bad. And she'd pull my hair. And and he would always be like, come on, girls. Like, let's get along. Like,
We only got, I tell them to go to, all we got is each other. That's all we got.
and we have a short amount of time together. Like, let's.
We just, just a little bit of lifetime we have here.
That's
just
why he said no fights
just a
broke
puff
out.
of smoke, poof, and you're gone. So you can live your life as a trail of vapor. It's gone. And in the time frame that we have, that's all it is, a little trail of vapor, and poof, you're
Or
gone.
we're all nervous, like we know the hurricane's coming to Florida. Dad,
Yeah, we're like
have
freaking
you-
out. Dad,
You got
Dad.
gas? Have you charged a vehicle? Like, what are you going to do? Nothing. He's not going to do any of that. He's going to stand outside and record it.
With the strap hooked to his belt, like to hold him down.
I wanted to see.
You want him blown away.
I wanted to see what it felt like. Now I knew what it felt like in a like what's the least one, like 70 mile an hour. You can nearly stand up in it. You have to bend over a little bit. So I thought, with 130 mile an hour wind, what's it feel like? So you can't really stand up. It'll knock you down in a heartbeat. So I get out to the garage, and I had to nearly crawl back there. And so I took this strap, and I strapped it to my belt and to my belt loop, and hooked it to the building, and just walked out in it. It will slap you down so fast, boom, need to back up, boom. I thought, man, that ain't going to work, but I see what it does. So it was...
Was this the most recent one, too?
Yeah. And it's like that thing because I knew that if I didn't strap it, it would blow me off in a ditch back there. But
See how you didn't tell us that till after?
well,
You're home
Like,
alone, I
way
assume.
after.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah. I just wanted to
Yes.
see what it would or would not do.
James was near, but he wouldn't have known.
No, it is so you just hook yourself up with these straps, and try to stand up. Well, you can't stand up. Boom. Man, that was quick. That was quick.
Well, you got to experience the wind tunnel also, right?
Oh, yeah. Went to this wind tunnel with the car.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
That thing, we had the car out there with no body on it, and the wind was so, and you put the smoke on it, and it's just all over the place. In the sides, on the top, nothing. Put that body on it, and there goes a little trail of smoke, or whatever that vapor is.
Mm-hmm.
And did it make a difference? Nearly 10 miles an hour. Same car, just a body put on it, nearly 10 miles an hour, and quite a bit of difference in the time also. People say, yes, it was not staged. It was a real deal,
Yeah, I think everybody was concerned about you blowing away on that one.
And it was
Cool standing in that wind tunnel.
It went on. Yeah, you had to lean over a little bit. It was good. Yeah, it was great.
It's definitely pretty fun. Yeah, well, this was awesome, guys. I had a lot of fun. We'll wrap this up because everybody wants to get back to their families and everything.
Yep,
It's Black
yep.
Friday. I don't know if you're going to go fight
no.
someone at the mall or
No.
something.
No, we're not.
They make online
Well,
stores.
but I think
No.
Cooper and his group might be going to think. But I'd say if you wanted to get into
Fist fight.
see the excitement, getting a fist fight, go down there to UTC and be like, okay, we've been
Yeah.
waiting for you.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
Do you have any Black Friday sale on your spray waxes or anything?
As a matter of fact, Garrett Cletus has got I think it's a 15 or 20% discount on all the products.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
and that includes the CLP.
Okay.
So, a little plug for the CLP.
This will be up Monday, so hopefully it's still going by Monday, maybe.
I think so.
Cyber
yeah.
Monday is
I think
normally
so.
a thing, too.
So,
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
it will be there on it. Yeah.
Cool. And
And
then
the
Motion Raceworks, too.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Big partner of yours, I would
yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Any final words before we
I guess the one thing I would say is a special thank you to you for taking time out from your day, from your family, to give to us for this. That is extremely special, more than you know.
Lifetime memory.
I'm happy to get to do it.
Yeah.
This is a whole lifetime memory. What do you have right here, right here, your girls will be looking at and your children will be looking at for a long time to come. And you think back, wow, remember that day. So thank you so much for the privilege.
Thank you guys so much for this. This was a lot of fun. They'll be looking like, who's that other guy?